but I will. Welcome. No, thank you for welcoming us here to Arkansas. Hello from West Virginia. I do not consider myself neither a speech writer nor a speech maker, but I have been a public school teacher for over 40 years, and I can tell a story. So that's what I will do. Stacy mentioned my husband, James William Hotsinpiller, who joined the Bridgeport Police Department. I knew him since 4th grade. I picked him out. The man never had a chance. And I remember through junior high and high school his passion for law enforcement. And in 1973, he joined that police department. It was in the late 80s and the early 1990s that he was a guard with the United States Marshal Service and helped them transport prisoners to and from court. We could tell at the end of the day when he came in where he'd been. If he was talking kind of like a Rastafarian, he had been in Eastern Panhandle, West Virginia, over at Martinsburg, moving drug dealers around. If he came home spelling Swami Bhaktapati forwards and backwards, he'd been to the Northern Panhandle transporting Mr. Ham around. That was his real name. But I really was blessed, and I feel that I did married well. He was intelligent, he was wise, and he was a devoted law enforcement officer. He walked the talk. He set excellent, I have to remember to breathe, he set excellent examples for our sons. They both shared his passion for law enforcement, but he always told them, if you're going to go law enforcement, go federal. It was no surprise to me that within 6 months after Jim's untimely death, that Dustin was sworn in as an officer with the Bridgeport Police Department. Nor was I surprised when he was sworn in as a special deputy with the Fugitive Task Force there at the North Central office of the United States Marshal Service. And then Derek went off to college, and his freshman year of college, which still blows this mother's mind, he went to the career fair. His freshman year of college, he went to the career fair. But he met Alex Neville, who is now the chief he was then supervisor at the Northern District of West Virginia, and he's now chief there. But he met Alex, and Alex heard his name, and he said, I knew your dad, worked with your brother. And he talked to Derek, and that weekend Derek came home with a flyer, and it opens up, and he laid it on the counter, and he spread it across there, and he said, Mom, this is what I want to do with my life. And my heart sang a little song. By his senior year, he was in what the Marshals call the CSEP program, and he interned in the Northern District of West Virginia. I believe I had this story right. You were serving with the Fugitive Task Force at that time, and they went out on a warrant, and Dustin, of course, they all armored up, and they told Derek to stay beside the car, and Dustin told him to get behind the car, and Derek told Dustin to mind his own business. But it was, I think they really enjoyed the times that they did get to go out together. I'm sure they did. But then Derek graduated FLETC to become Deputy United States Marshal Derek W. Hotsinpiller. Derek William Hotsinpiller. He came home in May, and he just lived there for a little bit. He couldn't wait to get his own place. But about October, he was looking at his laptop there at the counter in my great room, and he flipped it around, and this is all on the inside cover of your program. And he said, Mom, look at this. They're going to build a Marshals Museum. He said, that's something that needs to happen. He said, when I get my place and I get my finances in order, he said, I want to make a donation to that, and I want to travel out there someday to see it. Blew me away. Blew me away. And here I am. John Clark called and said, would you come speak? And how could I say no? Then February 16th, as you were informed, the incident in Elkins, West Virginia. Beautiful drive. If you haven't been to West Virginia, you got to try it sometime. And I've made that trip for business and different things, and I go up, what's the route? To 33. I don't remember numbers either. Route 33, and I still reflect, and I would have just loved to have been a fly in the headliner of that vehicle as they drove up there that morning. We have a lot of nice family memories there in Elkins and held a lot of fond memories. That's not one of them, though. And again, I was not surprised shortly after that, after the dust settled and we felt our nerves coming back to maybe somewhat normality, that Dustin announced that he was going to join the United States Marshal Service as a deputy. In September of this month, he finished, this year, I'm sorry, September of this month. September of this year, Dustin finished his training at FLETC and he became Deputy United States Marshal Dustin James Hotsinpiller. And I'm just here to tell you that that story that I just told you is one that only God could weave. One that only He could weave. And there's a little bit of moral to the story, and there won't be a test or a quiz afterwards. But, you know, I know that God lays on the hearts of many good men and women the conviction, the strength, and the determination to fight His battle against evil. And we must encourage and support those individuals. Deuteronomy chapter 6 teaches us that we should teach our children about the commands of God, and I believe we must also teach them about what can happen here on earth. We have to teach them to fear evil. We have to teach them to fight evil, but we have to teach them not to be fearful, but to be fearless. So thank all of you for having us here today, and I appreciate the opportunity and to honor Derek, and he would just be really surprised. Stay here with you, or you want me to sit down? Okay.
Yeah. It seems like I always get picked last. You know, Mom tells some more forgiving stories of a younger brother, but as an older brother who allowed no one to pick on my brother but myself, I remember when he talked about wanting to get into law enforcement as a patrol officer in a relatively small town of only about 30 officers at that department. I would sometimes sneak him out in my cruiser and let him ride around with me of an evening, and he'd kind of get a taste of what went on, and it wasn't until a little bit later on that when he'd made the decision to become a Marshal service that a bigger brother became very jealous of a younger brother pretty quick. When you work in local law enforcement, and my roots will always lay there between my dad and the guys that I worked with, and you kind of feel that you're in the minor leagues, and every once in a while the federal agents, they come in and all their cool toys and everything that they get to do, and out they went, and here came my brother, you know, and I'm just was jealous and excited for him, and had to razz him a little bit about the difference between the West Virginia State Police Academy and FLETC. And he called me at 4:30 one day and he said, "Man, we had a rough day today." And I said, "You mean you're back at your room at 4:30 calling me and you had a rough day?" We dreaded 4:30. There was nothing else for them to do with us. Once he came back and we got to work together, and Mom tells the story of the day that we got to go out, and he was throwing on his body armor. It was right there. I threw mine on. I looked over. It wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about worrying about myself. There was somebody else in the mix now. And I'll never forget the call that I got that morning from one of Derek's coworkers and his partner, Terry Moore, that said Derek had been hit. And the realization of that was that I figured that they were in a car wreck, because 33 is a pretty nasty stretch of road just about any time of the year, and a lot of blind turns and places where people pull in and out. And I figured they'd been in a wreck in a prisoner van and being flown out. And he said no, he'd been shot. And I thought, well, that's good. He always wears his body armor. You know, he's very proud of the Marshal service. They're very good to us in the equipment that we have and the type of armor that we can wear. And I thought, well, that's good, you know. And I kind of went and told my supervisor at that time. I was in investigations. I said, "Hey, listen," I said, "I'm trying to get some more information. My brother's been shot." And being a good detective, no one would talk to me, and I knew that they were getting more information than I was getting, and it was hard. And I was injured in the line of duty several years prior to this, and the guys were like, "Hey, we'll call your mom," and I said, "No, you won't. I can talk. I'll call her. It'll be good. It'll save everyone a lot of heartache if she doesn't hear it from me, then I'm okay." So I called my mom and everything like that, and I said, well, let me go get my mom. We'll go up to the hospital. They wouldn't let me go get her, and I knew that things had gone from, I guess you could say, bad to worse. And it was at that time that the realization that you're not there to protect a family member, or I wasn't there to protect my brother, set in. They told us that he'd passed away, and I just thought to myself, you always hear sacrifice. You hear sacrifice. The sacrifice that is given. Us in law enforcement, we didn't step forward to sacrifice our life. It wasn't like we checked that box and we signed up. Life is something not to waste. What we do is we fight evil, and unfortunately there always is a winner and a loser. There's a lot of times that we are the loser. We have a valued life to protect those that can't protect themselves. My brother was killed in the line of duty trying to bring somebody to justice who didn't want to come to justice. He played a game that, fortunately, that guy lost also. When we set out every day, and now it's more evident in the two children that I have and see, I do worry. Before, it wasn't a worry. You heard about it, but until it hits home. We went to Police Week, and I saw all those names on that wall and realized that they gave an ultimate sacrifice. They didn't sacrifice a life. They sacrificed for something that was greater than their life. We must honor those, and that's why this museum is so important to us and to all honor not only the Marshal Service but all law enforcement officers across the country, from the small police departments that have one or two individuals to New York City or in the bigger cities that guys can work their whole career and never know each other. My choice to join the Marshal Service came the day that the cert showed up at our house. There wasn't a place that the Hotsinpillers didn't go or something that the Marshal Service didn't provide for us. And to be a part of that brotherhood was something that I kind of regretted about halfway through the beach in one of our Marshal challenges, and I didn't think maybe this was such a good idea. But I troopered on and realized that I had made a decision that was greater than myself. I feel very honored to be a part of the Marshal Service and to have graduated and joined the rank of file when I see so many here that are retired and spent so much before us. The history that lies behind us and what's about to become of this place is very phenomenal, and it's about time that the Marshal Service got their due. Like they said so many times down there, we do more with less than most agencies do with 3 and 4 times the people. I just want to say on behalf of myself, my mother, and the rest of our family, thank you very much for having us out here. We take great pride in not only getting my brother's story out there, but honoring all those that have fallen before him. Thank you very much.